And I want to focus my questions on child support enforcement. And as you know, CSE program works with the IRS on collecting child support for non-custodial parents to help children and families to get the money that they deserve through your program, which is the Federal Tax Refund Offset Program. This is a vital source of income for millions of families across the country. In my home state of Illinois, 44,000 families and children depend on and receive $65 million through the Federal Tax Refund Offset Program. To service these families participating in this program, many states, 42 states in particular, rely on the federal tax information through third-party contractors. And that's the way it's been done since 2004. A year ago, without consultation to Congress and without us an opportunity to work with you on that, the IRS made the decision abruptly to change this policy, and this has caused a shift. Now all states and CSE programs that use contractors will be in non-compliance as of October. So we did a bipartisan hearing in November, and across the board, people were frustrated. They were extremely, there was lots of questions on why the IRS did this and why they're putting states in jeopardy on this. I'll give you an example. The Illinois Administrator of Child Support Services, Brian Tribble, he testified right where you were at to our subcommittee that this policy change by the IRS will cost Illinois hundreds of millions of dollars to implement new systems and hire employees. And furthermore, if states are unable to come into compliance in time by this October, their entire CSE program could be in jeopardy of losing federal matching funds, resulting in millions of families and children losing their child support payments. So what I'm trying to figure out, Commissioner, and I'd love your explanation on it, why this was done without consultation to Congress to put an equitable solution in place and possibly legislation to remedy this, and why was this sudden change done? If you can, and by the way, the stress and anxiety this is putting these 42 states through is immense.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And this was an issue that was brought to my attention very early in my tenure back in March of 23. And I, like you, had a lot of questions about the policy itself and why we had issued it. And I immediately engaged with the Department of Health and Human Services, who runs the child support program, to understand what the IRS could do to reset the expectation across states, contractors, and others. At this moment, that policy announcement is paused. We are not moving forward, and now we have the opportunity to do the very engagement that you are suggesting. So we have told HHS that we are going to take more time to make sure that that we've heard from stakeholders appropriately before we finalize any such policy.
So just to clarify, the pause that you just referenced, does that affect the October 24 deadline?
I believe it does, but I want to get back to you with more specifics.
Well, that's obviously very important.
Very important,
coming
yes.
into compliance. I mean, do you have an estimate of how much this will cost states to come into compliance with this new policy?
I don't have it at my fingertips, but this is why it's so important to get this right.
I mean, and just another issue that is part of the collateral damage is there are 60 federally recognized Native American tribes that also fall into this category too. And they're in a much more tougher position because of some of the financial and economic issues there because of this IRS policy. And so they're in jeopardy of losing access to critical child support enforcement tool, those tribes. So I want to mention that to you, and this needs to be a priority for you and your department.
Yeah, I want to make this commitment to the extent, and I need to go back to the office and make sure that I have the details. We did pause to the extent it is intending to go back in October of 24, as you mentioned. I want to talk to you about the implications of that, and I'm happy to revisit that with you to make sure we're getting all the right data and feedback before we move forward.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Sanchez.